Hello and welcome back to another video. In today's video I'm going to be showing you a complete farming guide on how to set up your farm and what's the most efficient way to go about it. You can also use this to farm lots of cloth and then you can sell that for scrap at bandit camp, earning you a lot of scrap per hour. The first thing you want to do is choose a location. I highly recommend you go to a river and make sure that you're away from the snow. The desert is acceptable, however at night it can get a little bit cold, and also the grass area spawns lots of naturally occurring hemp which you'll need for seeds. Then once you found your river, you want to set out a location where you can put down a 4x4. You can do a 2x4 if you want your farm to be smaller, but this is what I've gone for the video. It's important that your 4x4 is touching the water so that you can set up a water pocket. A water pocket allows you to gather water whilst remaining in your base, so you don't have to go anywhere. You can set one up as I've done here, where you just place a lower foundation inside of the water, and you can actually drink and gather water via the jug, even though you're standing on the foundation. Then you want to enclose your 4x4 and upgrade it to whatever resources you have available. Do note that I like to put glass windows on the outer edges because then it lets raiders know that this is just a farming base and they're less likely to raid it. Then an additional but highly recommended upgrade is you chuck on a 2x2 which is attached to your 4x4 and you can store your horses in here. This is highly recommended because horses produce a lot of dung which can be converted to fertilizer, and again the same principle applies. If you chuck in the glass windows, people will know that this is just a horse hoarding shed and they won't raid this part of your base. And this is why building next to a river is so key, because now that you have lots of pumpkins and corn, you can just feed it to the horses. Then once your base is secure, set up all your large planter boxes. Obviously you probably won't have 16 right now, but as you keep going, you can just keep adding them. Then you can water these planter boxes using your water pocket. Remember that you can buy the water jug for only 5 scrap at bandit camp. Once they're all at 5 liters, you'll have 100% water saturation, and then you can move on to the lighting. So for lighting, you need to set up some solar panels and some lights. If you have access to a wind turbine, sure, you can chuck that in too. Both of the lights and the solar panels can be bought at outposts for scrap, so you don't have to worry about running around for the BP, although you do need a battery if you want the lights to work overnight. 2 solar panels will be enough to run this 4x4, however it won't be for overnight storage, so I highly recommend that you get 3 to 4 solar panels per floor. The circuit is extremely simple. Whatever's getting your power needs to go into the battery, and then the battery goes into the lights. Use root combiners if you have multiple inputs of power, however all of the power can go into the lights because lights have a pass-through so that you can just connect them all in one series. Okay, so now you've set up your electricity, your lighting will be at 100%. If you've watered your plants to 5 liters, they'll also be at 100%. If you chose a good location to build, your temperature should always stay at around 95 to 100%. The only final thing is the fertilizer, which will come from that 2x2 you set up earlier with the horses, because the horses create dung which can be turned into fertilizer. And assuming you add fertilizer to your plants, now all of your stats will be at 100%. Okay, time to actually start growing. The first step is to generate the perfect clone. You can do this by crossbreeding. Go check out my crossbreeding videos if you haven't seen them already, as I can't explain them here. They take an entire video to explain and lots of practice. Then once you have your perfect clone, just keep reproducing it, as you can clone it every 10 minutes, tripling what you already had before. So say you start out with 1 clone, in 10 minutes you'll have 3, and then in another 10 minutes you'll have 9, etc, etc. Each harvesting of a 4x4 requires 144 clones, so that means that you should never have less than 144 clones. Let's say you make up your first batch of 144 clones, you can plant them all once, clone them all once, and then you'll have 3 sets of 144. So you can take one of these sets, plant them all in your 4x4, and then wait for them to go to full stage, and then you can harvest them for cloth. You can do that again for the second set, and then on the third set, when you're down to 144 clones left, you want to reproduce them because you never want to go less than 144 clones, otherwise you won't be maximizing your space. If you're farming for the sake of farming, or cloth, potatoes, pumpkins or corn, then you're done. This is all you need to know. However, if you want to trade at bandit camp, you can actually trade 50 cloth for 10 scrap. So here are the statistics. Each plant yields 58 cloth after harvest, so every planter yields 522 cloth. This means that for every 4x4 you'll be getting 8,352 cloth per harvest. Because every harvest takes roughly an hour and 6 minutes, and because cloning takes 12 minutes and you have to do it every 2 harvests, it takes technically an hour and 12 minutes to do 1 harvest. So technically you're getting 6,960 cloth per hour, and if you trade that at bandit camp, that's 1,392 scrap per hour per floor. If you're part of a larger group, you can easily maintain multiple floors of a 4x4, and all you have to do is set up the lights exactly the same way I've done previously. The hardest part is definitely over. All you have to do to maintain it is to keep watering them once a cycle, clone them and harvest them when they're ready. You can also chuck in fertilizer to speed up the process, and all of that together probably only takes around 5 minutes per hour. That means for only 5 minutes of work, you're getting 1.4k scrap per floor. If you play with a trio, you could easily go up 3 floors within the second day of your wipe, and then you'd be generating around 4k scrap an hour. Now you can add sprinklers if you want your farm to be more automatic, however the reason I don't add them is because the high cost spent on powering the pumps into the sprinklers and also for paying for the sprinklers could be spent on more lights and more solar panels, which you could use for further floors. Because it only takes about 30 seconds to water your plants and you only need to do that once every hour, having an automatic watering system isn't that necessary. However, if you really want sprinklers, then I would recommend putting 3 per 4 planter boxes, and then you can connect it up to pumps. The way pumps work is they require 5 power. You need 1 E-branch per pump, and then make sure you power out 5. As you can see here, it looks like a spider web, but basically each one of these E-branches is putting out 5 power to each one of the pumps, and then all of the water from the pumps are going into the combiners, and this has allowed us to have 6 pumps which feed into a fluid switch, and then that fluid switch goes into the sprinklers. Sprinklers work the same as lights, so you can just chain the water from all of them. I think it's quite essential that you have this switch, because if you don't, the water will just keep running and the planters will go up to 9,000 mils, and if you get to 9,000 mils in your planter boxes, the plants won't be happy as they're oversaturated. Make sure to try and keep your water level around 5,000, as that's a lot better. If you want your watering system to be really automatic, then I'll link a video down below as that shows how to set up a circuit to help. However, those who are just here for the scrap, you don't really have to worry about any of that, as the water jug will do just fine. So that's the end of the video. Setting up this farm may take a little while, but it's definitely worth it in the end. Buying all the BPs from outposts means that setting up electricity and the 4x4 should only take you a couple of hours. If you're in a trio, you could probably do this in about an hour. Then moving on to crossbreeding, if you're not very good at it, it can take you an hour or 2. However, if you practice lots, it should only take you about half an hour to 40 minutes. Then once you've got that, you just need to clone your genes, which should only take about another half an hour. Once you have 144, you can start actually doing the process. So after about 4 to 5 hours of setting everything up, you'll have a 4x4 which generates you 1.4k scrap per hour. Then you can keep making your farm higher, going up and up in floors as you keep your 4x4 structure. Remember, this only really requires 5 to 10 minutes of maintenance, so the whole point is once you set it up, you only have to do about 5 to 10 minutes work every hour. Then you can do whatever you want for the rest of those 50 minutes, and you'll be generating a lot of scrap. If you're with a trio, you can generate around 5k scrap for only 4 floors, and you each have to only do around 5 to 10 minutes. The whole point of this farm is that it takes a while to set up, but once you set it up, you'll start generating a lot of scrap. I hope you enjoyed this guide, and thanks for watching.